mix of words to, where we could have a cascading global series of banks failing starting October 7th. Already we had the Russian stock market shut down for 2 days last week, an event that got almost no publicity in the mainstream media in the U.S., yet that's a huge one because that tells us that the nature of this collapse is global, interlinked, and completely outside the Fed's direct control. And by the way, there's now talk the Fed wants to use tax dollars to bail out even foreign banks with substantial positions relative to U.S. investments.
That almost tells you that somebody's figured out what's coming.
Oh, sure. And I put on my website how to save the day, and there actually is a way to substantially reduce the cost of the bailout through private sector co-investment. But it's not in the banker's interest to put the taxpayer first. They will make far more money by sinking the prices of the repurchased toxic waste and letting the prices be bid down as close to zero as possible, because many of those bonds are going to pay off. And instead, I suggest that a private-public partnership where the public's interest is represented over the life of the bond would actually save things. But
however, George, you're also predicating this on the assumption that the dollar persists.
Oh, yeah. Right. And that we understand that's not a sure thing by any stretch.
Thanks, Jimmy. Thanks for the call. We're going to go to Robin in Boulder, Colorado on our wildcard line. Good morning, Robin.
Hey. I have two really brief questions. The first one is, do you see the Internet surviving after, 5 months go by, this 5-month period, in a usable form? And the other thing is, I'm a little bit slightly intuitive myself, and I've been getting a lot of pressing language in my head, or visions, or whatever, or combination, about digging into the earth, things underground. The words underground railroad come through my mind a lot, and I'm wondering if there's anything that's going to come from underground, or if maybe the alien visitors really don't, they're not from elsewhere, they're from within the earth, or anything like that you see things happening under the earth, or maybe I'm being too literal.
It could be that you need to look at it at multiple levels. We do have what we call metadata layers, which are big themes that are running out through the planetary populace. And one of them is revolution. There's a big revolution coming against the powers that be. And so Underground Railroad goes right to the idea of a civil war, revolution, et cetera, et cetera. So your mind is certainly telling you something. The question is how to decipher it in a meaningful way, and at what point it starts to become mental noise to continue with it. It may be that it wants you to go and dig a hole in the ground. Now, I've never been a particular fan of that idea for safety and survival because we're all dead anyway. And so it's just a question of standing up and deciding how you're going to meet this death and what kind of a person you're going to be under those circumstances. And to be honest, I'm not going to hide in a hole in the ground. Somebody's going to come and try and take us out. They're going to have to work on it a bit. So your particular approach there, it's like, well, I would really look at it as at both levels of the archetype. That relates to the social order, such as the Underground Railroad component, but then also, as you're saying, the not-from-here beings don't necessarily have to come from space. So who knows?
Well, also, what about underground facilities for survival of government, that kind of thing?
Well, we know that there's actually, George, 92 contracts that have been fulfilled so far for the federal government in our 50 states of underground facilities.
Oh, yeah. There's just been a huge, since about 1989 or so, the government's been digging holes all over the place. If you go out on the web, you can see the pictures of the tunnel borers. Some of these things are, multiple stories high and chunking away underground. And do you and I have clearances or pay grades appropriate?
No.
Not hardly.
Thanks for the call, Robin. Appreciate it. We're going to go east of the Rockies. Mark in Nashville. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. I have never in my life stayed up to listen to any talk radio show, but when George put on his site that he was going to be on here with Clif, I made an extra point to stay up. I just wanted to share with your listeners, I have read George's site for years. He is willing to put out there at his own time economic news that everybody can sit there and listen. You have two very self-deprecating and humble gentlemen on your show this evening that I'd strongly urge all your listeners to sit here and listen to. What I wanted to ask was, on the other side of what's going to be happening here soon, do we have any positive signs of all this mess that's going to come along? Is there going to be a positive fruition of this? And also, I've not heard him speak of anything geographically specific, and I wondered if they were willing to share what they, as they've said all along, intents and things aren't very clear, but do they have any geographic areas that they're willing to share? And I don't want them to cause panic in any areas or anything like that, but is there some place people should be extra worried about?
I don't know that worry, cautious, that kind of thing. You know, earthquakes don't kill people usually. Yeah, you could have a hole open up and fall into it, but usually it's bad engineering that gets you. We are expecting a very large earthquake in December 12th, 10th through 12th, sometime in that time period. We have indications that it's going to be related to that band of the Earth that is between 32 degrees and 36 degrees latitude north, which, of course, is like all the way through California, Japan, all these hot earthquake zones, but also that there's disturbing information now that seems to suggest that it'll be in some way involve the Pacific Northwest, which is where I happen to be. And earthquakes are nasty, bad things and can cause all kinds of damage, so it's probably best at this point not to worry, but to be cautious and start strapping down anything that may fall on you while you're asleep.
And in terms of October 7, that's going to be a generalized global thing by the sound of it, at least in terms of the economic impact, with the greatest impact in the greatest economy, better economy at that, which is us.
And, Mark, I think you might have heard them say that they were concerned about coastal areas of the east coast of the U.S., too, as well.
They've been saying it. And that.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go west of the Rockies. Carol in Washington. Good morning, Carol.
Yes, he just answered my question, one of my questions on the Pacific Northwest. I was wondering what and when. And my other question is on the water and food. How long should we prepare for? And then can you give the survival website again?
Well, that's urbansurvival.com, and that's George Ure's site. And as for how much food and so on, that's an individual level of resources, this kind of a deal. I like to have enough food on hand so that I can help feed myself and those that live with me and those who may come asking for help. Beyond that, it's really the knowledge and the ability on what food is and how to get it, make it, create it that could be much more important.
And it's a judgment call about quality of life issues, I would imagine.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm a vegetarian, so it's like, you know, I can go and forage if I have to. Twigs and stuff actually can sustain you. So I don't put that much importance on it, and I don't know that we need to be panicked about this. We need to be sure, cautious, steady, and stable in our approach because we're facing all kinds of challenges, which we can perceive of as obstacles that have to be overcome, gone around, gone under, or whatever. As far as previous questions about the Internet staying up and this kind of thing, humans are very creative and very crafty. Wouldn't surprise me a bit that it does stay up.
Boy, it would come in handy for something like this. Thanks for the call, Carol. We're going to go to our wild card line, Robin in Irvine. Good morning, Robin.
Yeah, hey, how you doing?
Okay.
All right. Well, a woman called earlier about a dream, I believe, where she had a vision of a triangular point.
Yeah, an upside-down triangle.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I actually recently came across a video. It's spreading on the internet, getting viral. Seeing if you guys heard of the Galactic Federation of Light. Yeah, sure. Okay. They were speaking of October 15th and how they were going to reveal a spacecraft.
Oh, wouldn't it?
Right, and it definitely seemed that it was going to be somewhere over Alabama. Now, I heard someone bring up October 15th earlier, seeing if that had any relevance.
The October 15th thing that we have now for us seems to suggest that there is going to be some level of giant misunderstanding within the military. That maybe our U.S. military may, for instance, suddenly run out of money. If there's a giant economic crash and they can't pay people, that's going to cause a lot of misunderstandings. Or it may be that it's a military-to-military kind of misunderstanding. We don't have enough data yet to determine that.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the call. We're going to go to our first-time caller, Mike in California. Good morning, Mike.
Hi, how you doing?
Okay, for now.
My question is, I sort of have a grasp of how you get the what, but they haven't really explained how you get the when.
The when is determined by what we do with words is we actually deal with 4-digit hexadecimal numbers instead of words per se, and we've assigned emotional values to words. Some words have a longer impact on your emotions than others. Legal language, for instance, is long-term, and we all dread to even hear it. Some words that are in slang are popping and hopping, and they're out of fashion and out of your mind really quickly. So we can assign time values on words and when they show up. When these words show up relative to an archetype, we count down from the day in which we found those and look at the value we've assigned to that word.
To make it even simpler, if I was going to jack your car, would that happen before I got around to repossessing it?
It's an emotional quantifier, and so we just assign a numeric value that we're guessing. And each time we guess close to right, we say, aha, circle this and use it again. And when we're wrong, we kind of try and fine-tune it a bit.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for the call. Wildcard line. Shira in Atlanta, good morning.
Hey, how's it going, gentlemen?
Good. You got gas down there?
Some places are out of gas.
Yeah, I've heard.
Yeah, I'm going to try to make this brief because I know we're running out of time. The monetary system here is really a joke, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm kind of ashamed of what I did. A few years ago, I actually printed money. You know, I was counterfeiting. You know, so I did my time for it and everything, but I did it honestly, not as a crime, but I did it to prove a point about the monetary system, how they say that we're running out of money. And I'm like, you know, and then I was like, you know, and you know, and I single-handedly, you know, and I thought about it. I said, now, how can one person, me, can single-handedly print, you know, I mean, just I'm just an unlimited amount of money, and the government, you know, will come out and say that they're running out of money. But
and they didn't thank you for helping them out?
No, I definitely got in trouble for it. But
well, they gave you a free vacation then.
Yeah, it was the competition they were kind of ticked off at.
Yeah, they did, and seeing people go to work, it was sad. You know, when I was doing that, to see people get up in the morning and go to work and do all kind of things, you know, just to make this paper.
Yeah.
You know, this cash, which was paper. And but anyway, that was my point on the monetary system. The cash is being printed by them, which, you know, like one individual can do it and print an unlimited amount of money and help an unlimited amount of people with it.
Well, we're going to see a scaled-up version of that as the Treasury is going to give a bunch of promissory notes to the Fed, and we're going to have all kinds of money printed up here shortly. Unfortunately, it will probably depreciate the international purchasing power of the dollar to the point where the dollar will begin a serious collapse.
We may also get the other approach, George. Remember, our original language on this was called rejected by all.
Right.
The dollar would be rejected by all, and it may be that the consortium of nations to which we owe everything gets together around October 7th and says to the Fed, we won't accept any more of your dollars.
Hey, thanks for that call. We're going to have to cut this off. Fellas, in 10 seconds or less, any parting words for each of you? A couple of seconds?
Eat pie. It's good for you.
Eat pie.
Yeah. Keep your head down and get used to a lower standard of living.
And
thanks.
Pie
It's been fascinating. I hope to have you back on in a month or so, and that this is all, you're completely wrong.
We hope to be.
It'd be great.
Thanks very much. It's been a fascinating discussion. I'll be back next week. Our guest will be Robert Bigelow of Bigelow Aerospace. See you then, everyone. Good evening, everyone. This is Coast to Coast AM, blasting out of the Mojave Desert like a Scirocco, blazing across the land, into your town, into your home, slamming into your radio like a supercharged nanoparticle of dark energy, squeezing your brain, messing with your mind, and just maybe challenging your grip on that amorphous and elusive concept known as reality. Greetings from the boldest, bawdiest, most outrageous city in the world, my not-so-humble hometown, Las Vegas, Nevada. My name is George Knapp. I'm your host, your trail guide, your designated driver of the airwaves for the next few